Our first session this morning is going to be Going to the Cloud with Jamf Cloud. We're joined by Matt Phillips and Katie Davis from Jamf, and we'll take questions at the end. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining on the last day of JNUC. Hopefully everybody's having a great time so far, and today can be a continuation of that awesomeness. So as Katie said, I am also Katie. I am a product manager here at Jamf, working on Jamf Pro, and this is Matthew. He is a professional services engineer. And today, we'll be talking to you a little bit about Jamf Cloud. So just a quick kind of overview of what we're going to be talking about. This quick overview will be covered a little bit by me currently, and Matthew as we go through this. We'll be talking about migrating and what that process looks like. We'll be talking about the re-enrollment steps for when you're going to the cloud and how that happens, as well as a little bit about what premium and standard cloud look like now. So with that, I'll hand it over to Matthew.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. So let's get started. We're here to talk about Jamf Cloud, and the easy way to think about it, I like to say this thing is the bee's knees, right? And on that bee analogy, it's the beehive is really far away, and somebody else manages the hive, and they store all the honey for you, but you still get to get credit for being the beekeeper. All you have to do is edit a few bees now and again. I wanted to start by talking about some of the misconceptions or things, concerns that I hear about going to Jamf Cloud. And these are the big ones that I see. It's more expensive than on-prem. Well, is it? You know, the actual cost of managing it and supporting the servers, upgrading, dealing with outages, and all of the employees that you have to manage your environment. If you take all of that and move it up into the cloud, usually it's a bit of a wash. I hear a lot of times Jamf Cloud is less secure. Well, Jamf is a SOC 2 compliant company. We have very secure servers. We have customers in the medical and financial environment that use it very securely, very happily. And the final one that I hear a lot is we can't go to cloud. We need to connect to our internal services, AD, LDAP, things like SCEP and certificate servers. And we have connectors and infrastructure managers to connect all of those pieces to Jamf Cloud. At Jamf Cloud, we take the server out of Jamf Pro Server. We can think of it as Jamf as a service, if you want. We have a team of people at Jamf to monitor the server, the health, the infrastructure, and they have the ability to detect issues in your environment. If you've got something going wrong, something that's causing large database bloat, or issues that might arise to cause a bad user experience, then they can reach out to you and work with why you might have something in your server setup that's causing issues that you may not ever notice if you were running your own server. So, the big things that Jamf has to offer: we have a huge MySQL server with redundancy and backup. The web apps themselves, there's multiple Tomcats behind an elastic load balancer, so the whole thing can scale up really quickly and grow as needed, and then scale back down when it becomes idle. We take care of all the NAT rules and firewalls and port mapping. The thing is in the DMZ, so to speak, so going public and putting it out there, we got that for you. Also, Jamf Cloud includes a global distribution point, which is worldwide availability. And of course, there's publicly trusted SSL, so the certificate issues are never a problem. And as I said, Jamf Cloud has a team of people to watch the servers for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And as I mentioned, the Jamf Cloud distribution point is unlimited storage. There's an asterisk there, unlimited as long as you don't abuse it. We have had customers that have tried to get clever and figure out how to use it instead of a client backup solution where the clients are actually uploading stuff to the Jamf Cloud. I was like, that's not what that's for. As long as you're not trying to store every DMG that humankind has ever created up in the cloud server, it is unlimited storage and unlimited bandwidth across the entire world. So, moving to Jamf Cloud, what is it like? It's literally a choose-your-own-adventure. Here you are, you're the knight of Mac admin. You find yourself outside of the Jamf castle, and I don't know, who remembers King's Quest, anybody? I just like old video games, so I couldn't help the reference. But it's true, you are choosing what you need to do to get to the cloud, and different steps are going to change the experience, they're going to change the overall environment changes that you need to make to get to cloud. So, choice A is we call standard migration services. Option B, pick and choose with Jamf Migrator. And option C is start fresh with re-enroller. Now, re-enroll, I know, is a really naughty word, and everyone gasps when they hear, they're like, we're not re-enrolling, you're going to make me go to cloud, I'm not going to re-enroll. Before you start sharpening your pitchforks and coming at me, I want you to know that with the tools that Jamf Pro Services have, we can silently and efficiently re-enroll the devices without the end users even noticing. So that's really, really great. Now that little footnote there is consider your options carefully, and it's true, you really do need to consider what's important to you as a Jamf admin, but also what's important to your environment and the health of the server. So do you really need all of those unmanaged inventory of MacBooks and PowerBooks and iBooks from 10 years ago? Probably not, right? Maybe you've had your database in use for 9 years, and in that time you've had 3 admins who've come and gone and left their stuff laying around. Maybe it's time to start fresh. You always wanted to. You're like, man, if this was just clean, I could start from scratch. And the risk is you don't have to recreate the wheel. So we have tools that can help pick the policies and the smart groups and all the bits that you need, but not all the cruft and the empty stuff that's sitting around in the database in tables that you don't even know about. And hey, if that's not right for you, if you're afraid of change and you like vintage video games and you want to keep everything for historical reasons, fine. We clone the entire database as is up into the cloud, and then you're off and running. So these options we have are not mutually exclusive. There is no one-size-fits-all for moving to the cloud. It is very literally a choose-your-own-adventure, and that's why I've got that up there. We end up finding a combination of options to get you in there. Sometimes it's not cloning the entire database. Sometimes it's moving some of the clients and not all of them. There's different solutions for every single environment out there. And I just want to go over what you need to know to do beforehand and what to expect, also so you can get the information out there to management and your managed clients and set the expectations for moving to cloud. Here's things that Jamf Cloud will not do for you. A lot of people want to go cloud because they're trying to fix something in their environment. Their server's slow, or Tomcat crashes all the time. They have issues with this one particular product issue. And if we clone your entire database, we put it up into the cloud, Jamf Cloud is not immune to those same problems. So you're probably just moving your problem up into our servers, which is not going to fix anything. These are some things, nested smart groups, extensive broken extension attributes that take a really long time to recon, or maybe even multiple inventories a day can cause really large databases, and that's going to be a problem wherever you store your data. Things that Jamf Cloud will potentially fix is your slow server, but why is it a slow server? Maybe you're on an old Mac Mini, or maybe the entire thing, database, distribution point, and server are all in one box. If you have port issues and network opening and fighting with InfoSec constantly to try and get things to work properly in the Apple and Jamf environment, moving all of that to the cloud is going to make all those problems go away because we handle that. Also, if you're looking to take the next step and go clustered or grow or advance your servers, and you're trying to look at what kind of infrastructure that's going to involve, instead of doing all that work, just put it on the cloud. So, earlier we mentioned standard migration as option A, and that's the simplest one. We clone the database, we make a flip to the DNS, and your managed clients never notice the difference. At one point, they're checking into your local server. The next moment, they're checking in to the cloud service. And most important there is your users also never notice an outage either. The idea here is we take your URL, whatever it is, jss.yourcompany.com, including your port. If you're on 8443, that doesn't really matter. We can still do that in Jamf Cloud. And before you know it, you're administering your same old server up in the cloud. This plan is not for everybody. Obviously, some environments have very special needs, very unique situations, and that's why we built these other tools to help with migration. First up is Jamf Migrator. Jamf Migrator is a great name. I love it. Migrator. It kind of sounds like a robot or like a friend of Truckosaurus or something. And it is an open source app. It's available online. I made a shortened link for it at jamf.it/migrator. The app was designed to use the API. Its whole purpose is to get data from one server to the other. It's not specific to migrations. You can use it in your environment. I have a lot of customers that actually move data from their production down to a test environment. They can clone basically their entire server down to a dummy server, and they can poke around on it, and they can do things. And then any changes they make in their changes in dev, they can, instead of rebuilding the policies by hand, they can use Migrator to push those new policies up into the production server. And they love doing it. So here's a look at Jamf Migrator. Hopefully I'll be able to do a demo, and that won't be an issue. But just to give you a look at it, the point is that we've got source server over there at jss.company.com, and the destination server is my.jamfcloud.com. And we fill out a username, admin credentials, or something with API access. And then down below, we get to pick and choose what parts of the server you want to take. If you need your smart groups, but you don't want your computer records, or you don't need the extension attributes, you definitely have a granular way to choose all of the pieces, everything that has an API endpoint. So let's try it. So here we have Migrator, and we can put username. And down here, we've got granular ability to control selecting everything, picking and choosing things specific to macOS records. iOS records, there's obviously a lot less data we store for iOS. The general tabs that kind of transcend across both devices and users as well. And we've got a great feature that was written specifically for a couple of customers that gives you selective abilities. This is what I was talking about, targeting items from your dev environment and sticking it into prod. You can actually do a search. It uses the API and goes and gets a list of what's available in the server. And I only have one MacBook in this test environment, but it does show all of your computers. And then you'd be able to move one or multiple items from anything in this list using the API. So here, if we hit go, it's going to take it all down, and it's going to start moving it over into the new server. And you get a little bit of feedback once it's going. Of course, we've never tested on this network. It's probably not going to work. There it goes. And you'll get colored information to tell you that it has moved successfully. It's taken the pieces down. It's fixed them and put them up into the server. You'll get yellow if there's an issue, any kind of conflict. And then things will actually go red if there's if it's an error, if it's unable to get those items or unable to put them up into the database. We've written Jamf Migrator to make sure that it is cognizant of requirements, right? If you're trying to move a bunch of policies over that are in categories and there is no category in your new Jamf server, that move won't work. So we make sure to do all of the required bits like categories and packages and things that the policies reference. We do those first. So sometimes you have to run Migrator a few times to get everything over, but eventually it does work. So the end result, if we go into, of course, this will not be as impressive because I didn't go to the server first to prove that it wasn't in there. There we go. So that one computer was called MacBook. We'll do a search. Great. And it's probably actually this one, if it's MacBook 2. No, I guess it is that one. Yeah, so it would have moved this one over from the server, as well as policies. There weren't any policies in here this morning, and now there's some 168 policies from my other server that just showed up, which is fantastic. Cool. And that's Migrator. It's a great tool, and we at Jamf will guide you through using it. You know, you're not on your own during a migration, but if you have a use for it or you think that's a clever tool, go ahead and get it. Download release versions are available, as well as snag the source code and do what you want with it, and then let us know if you found something cool. We love making that app better. The next tool is Re-enroller. Re-enroller automatically moves your clients to a new server. This is used in a situation when we're not moving the URL. If you're going from casper.company.com or even maybe jss.local, something horrible like that, you're not able to take your URL. So we have to move the management URL. Re-enroller is going to get the clients moved over into the new server. And it's not as simple as just taking a quick add package, throwing it at the clients and saying, go, because there's issues, right? What if those clients fail to enroll? What if there's network issues, an MDM? Most common issue with DEP enrolled devices is you can't remove profiles. So we've also seen in environments where there's certificate-based Wi-Fi, where there's an 802.1x cert and a mobile config profile that's attached to MDM, and as soon as you pull out MDM, they lose their network, and they're gone. Bye, clients. So what we do with Re-enroller is we actually build a special enrollment package that includes a launch agent, and it sits on the box and monitors the behavior. It looks for success and makes sure that the client goes to the new server. And if it fails to do so, it rolls back and begins checking into the original server. So Re-enroller has the ability to take care of pretty much every contingency we've come across. Every time that we find something that doesn't work, or a new version of the macOS, or something that Jamf changes, breaks the way Re-enroller works, we make a little edit to it. And the guy that develops this app is a super clever guy. He just loves when I find things, and I'm like, hey, it needs this now. But that's how the app has gotten as good as it is. This is a look at Re-enroller. It creates an enrollment package, as well as it uses the API into your new server. It uses the API to create a success policy. So when the client checks in, it tries to run a particular policy by trigger name, and if that works, then it considers that a successful migration. And then it knows that it can delete itself and move on, and your clients have then moved. So the required info there is just the new server URL, an admin username and password, and the management account. The management account here does not have to be the current management account of your clients. If you are looking to change the management name, like maybe it has the word Casper in it, or maybe it's just a funny name that's not necessary, you have the ability at this point to change the management account and password. We support the ability to randomize the password if you're not already doing that. You can do so when you're migrating the clients over. This is the second page of Re-enroller. It's got a bunch of little settings in it, and a lot of them are specific to very specific use cases. We have the ability to separate the pieces, put in extra delays, and the most important part is we do support the ability to drop in a mobile config file. So if you have that need to get on that cert-based Wi-Fi, you can give a sort of donor Wi-Fi mobile config profile that the computer uses while it's off MDM, stays on the network, gets itself migrated, and then once it's done, it deletes that profile. And I was silly enough to think we could do a demo. Okay, let's do it. All right. Will the window stay over here? Yes, it will. Cool. So here we've got a computer that is currently checking in to an on-prem server. It is enrolled to, wow, that's really hard to see. Looking down screen monitor here. It is enrolled to jss.oneigs.com. That's an on-prem server that's sitting at home somewhere. Now, there's a couple of pieces to get re-enroller working, and we can go over that now. I've done all the work ahead of time just to make sure it doesn't break. Here we have re-enroller. We're going to send it to my Jamf Cloud server with admin credentials, and I'm going to change the management account because sometimes you need to change the old face. Now you're going to a new face. So we're going to have a new management. And this password is going to be randomized. So that's literally all you need to put into re-enroller. You hit build. We give you a little warning message that explains that because you're randomizing the management password, there's going to be a policy inside of Jamf that changes the management password when it gets there. Because if you create a management account with a randomized password and it fails, then you've broken that computer. So we actually set the management password to a static string and then change it once it gets into the new server. We're going to assume that that worked. The end result is that it spits out a PKG that just has the name re-enroller dash your environment. And this is essentially a quick add package, but it also has a launch agent inside and any of the bundled config profiles that you would have needed to stick inside. So we'll ignore the fact that that's still spinning. Yes, it worked great. You guys saw it. It was wonderful. So step 2 is we are going to take that information over into the new server. And what we end up with, because the API went in, we got a policy got built called migration complete. It has instructions to change the management password, as I said, and then it's also running this command here, which is just a trigger to run the migration check. And the migration check is a trigger name that, as long as it runs that successfully, then we know the migration happened. So there's not a lot to do in the old server other than upload this PKG. So you upload that and you scope it to the clients that you plan on moving to. Obviously that's going to be everybody, but eventually you probably start small, you test with 1 or 2 devices, maybe roll it out to the IT group or something. But it is simple enough to just, and I think I can get into it, create the package with a policy once per check-in, just run this package. And that is a very finite thing to do, right? Because your on-prem server, when those clients check in, they're going to get instructions to get the PKG, they're going to download it, they're going to run it, and they are going to leave. They're going to disappear from that server. And the only thing that's going to cause them to go back is if re-enroller detects a fail of some kind, and then it rolls back to the backed up settings. Cool. So I guess I should show that. Nope. And this is my older server, so it's Jamf admin. Jamf. Sure. So there's one computer enrolled in this server, and it's this little guy here. And there's one policy in the server that matters, and it's called migrate. All it has is that package. Now, for testing reasons, I don't have it set to once per computer or even ongoing at check-in. I've got it set with a trigger type, so I can control when it happens. And we're going to do that now on this server that's happily checking into the on-prem. And I'm trying to go up. Let's just type it. Sudo jamf policy event migrate. Now, do I need to make that bigger for everyone? So in your Jamf log, you'll start seeing a bunch of information here. Reading the settings, anything with these 3 Apple logos. There you just notice the profile disappeared out of system preferences. So the MDM is now gone. This computer is no longer managed by the on-prem server. It's creating the new management account here. And you're going to see standard enrollment things like any new quick add package in the Jamf logs, as well as these 3 Apple logo peppered logs, and that's Migrator putting its information into the Jamf log file. So getting enrollment, getting MDM profiles, creating launch agent, knowledge daemon. And at one point once it's finally finished with the first recon, it then tries to run the enrollment check policy. And that doesn't always happen the first time. It tries, I think it's randomized, and it checks 3 times, just in case there's issues with Wi-Fi or things are still settling down. Because in a lot of environments, you have stuff that happen on enrollment, and the on-enrollment trigger causes a lot of busyness. So I'm going to quit system preferences because it likes to cache all of that information and won't show the new profiles right away. There it is, executing a migration check. And once we're confident that it ran the correct policy with the trigger name of migration check, then it deletes the re-enroller launch agent and cleans up after itself. So I should be able to come into here, see a profiles tab now. And this MDM profile is not automatically approved because rules and reasons. So the users will have to approve it. The great thing about that is, if we go into self-service, when you first launch self-service, you'll get told that that has to happen. So the users will have to interact with this at some point. And that would just be part of your comms or part of your information out to your users. Hey, we're doing a thing, we're changing to the new stuff, you'll have to click this button. And that's a security reason. It's good for them to know that they need to do that. So now you can see that this is managed by my Jamf Cloud server. That was a migration. It moved from one server to the other, and no users had to click anything. So it's pretty slick. Oh, that's right. We didn't talk about iOS at all, right? And there's a very good reason for that, because you have no control over those things, right? The enrollment options for an iOS are you just enroll them. And I think Katie's going to talk a bit about that. I wish we had apps that could do things to iOS devices. We just don't yet.
Sure thing. Thank you for your awesome demos, Matthew. They were great, especially trying to do them live up here on stage. So I'm going to really quickly just kind of go over some of the differences between what is it looking like if you do Jamf Cloud Standard or Jamf Cloud Premium. So with our standard Jamf Cloud, and don't worry, I'll go into a little bit more detail on these in just a second. For those iOS devices, you would wipe and re-enroll, just because that URL address is changing. For DEP-capable devices that you already have in there, can make the whole process significantly easier. Other times that make it a lot easier is if you do these transitions over holidays or for education over summer break. For the Jamf Cloud Premium, if you decide to keep your URL and move it over, there's no re-enrollment necessary. You're able to clone your entire database to the cloud and move all of that over without having to re-enroll those iOS devices. So let's talk a little bit more about the flavors of cloud. As you've probably gotten from this so far, there are 2 different variations that we offer now at Jamf, Standard and Premium. The goal of both of these is to be able to scale to your device count and be able to provide all of our customers with the cloud environment that suits them best. The Standard Cloud is essentially us redesigning earlier this year our cloud offering in order to be able to scale for our customers as they grow. So we really wanted to be able to offer a cloud platform to customers in a way that supports everyone, all the way from 50 devices, 50,000 devices, or even more. So in order to do that, we changed a few of the settings for our standard cloud offering, improved the infrastructure management on our end, and have really seen an improvement since we released that in the lives of our cloud customers. Overall, it doesn't matter if you have a small environment or a huge environment, it's the same cloud being managed by the Jamf team. However, we do have some customers that want things outside of kind of the standard options. While the standard options are perfect for over 90% of our users, we do have some people that have specific requirements, either for InfoSec reasons or they just want additional flexibility in their environment. So that's why we decided to start offering Premium Cloud in addition to our standard cloud. So just to go over a couple of these features, so you have a little bit of an idea of what that means to be premium versus standard. While both of them offer really great support, the ability to scale with devices as you need them, and Jamf's ability to continuously grow with you and support you if anything comes up, the Premium Cloud offers you things such as upgrade control. So if your organization or school requires certain blackout periods for changes, you're able to control when you do an upgrade. So what does that kind of look like? Well, earlier this week we released 10.8. So for all of our standard cloud-hosted customers, they'll be automatically upgraded to 10.8. For people that choose the Premium Cloud offering, they're able to choose any version within the last 12 months and kind of say, hey, we're on a blackout, or we want to stay on this version for whatever reason, and we won't upgrade them until they ask for it. We also have some additional offerings that might make your InfoSec team a little happier. So IP whitelisting. While both versions of Jamf Cloud are very secure, some teams prefer to be able to do some IP whitelisting and limit their login access to certain IP address ranges or to certain users who are able to lock down the system. With the Premium Cloud, you have this additional flexibility. You're also able to do that custom URL. As we mentioned before, that's what allows you to not need to re-enroll your device. So you don't have to have that .jamf cloud in your name. You can have it be exactly what you had for your on-premise server. You're also able to have full control over that URL, make it whatever you want. Even if you want to completely change it, totally fine too. We also offer the ability to support third-party SSL certificates. So again, this is something that comes out of that information security team. They probably want a little bit more control in some organizations over what certificates they're utilizing, and this gives them the ability to kind of more granularly control that. Another area where we've expanded is the ability to add custom ports and kind of control with a little bit more flexibility how Jamf Pro is communicating out to external services and over which ports. For anyone that thinks, hey, that Premium Cloud thing, that might be something that my organization wants to know more about, we have some additional information available on our website regarding the exact kind of things that you get with it, pricing. Another thing that you get with Premium Cloud is a testing sandbox instance. However, even if you have a standard instance, you can also add on a sandbox. So it's not exclusive to the Premium Cloud, it's just included with it. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening to us talk and for Matthew giving those awesome demos. Please remember to give us some feedback on our app survey, and now we've got some time for questions. There's 2 microphones up at the front. Please feel free to just come up and fire off any questions you have.
Yeah, and there's something I forgot to mention that Katie just reminded me. One of the benefits of going to cloud is, as a cloud customer, you retain the ability to have an on-prem server, right? Your activation key is going to continue to work, and we don't stop you. In fact, we encourage you to build out a server in your own environment. For testing or for backup reasons, or at the very least historical reasons, to keep your own server alive in the background, that you can reference those old inventory power books from way back when. So it's not like you're going away from your on-prem server forever and you're never allowed to see it again. You can still visit it. Go ahead.
Cheers, guys. 2 questions.
Yeah.
Where's the re-enroller come from? You didn't post the link.
That's true. Re-enroller has not been open sourced, and that's still an ongoing discussion inside our team, but basically we decide that it's involved enough and powerful enough that it can do some damage.
Yep.
That every time we've ever used Re-enroller, there's an engagement around it, right? So Jamf Engineers is on board helping you through that process. We give it to you. It's not like we're protecting it, but we just don't want to put it out there for everyone to have access to and cause more potentially support issues for our own employees to go, you used what? And you did what? And all 60,000 devices have just off in the distance. So yeah, that's not currently available on GitHub, and it probably will be someday, but yeah.
And Premium Cloud in APAC. Any plans or timelines?
Cannot authoritatively say any timelines at this point. It is something that's being looked into because obviously we're making a global push. So at this point, no updates, but are looking into it.
Cool. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey guys, so we're moving to the cloud probably next week, so I'm pretty psyched.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna start. We got the kickoff meeting. As far as LDAP, I want to do away with it, so we're gonna connect to Azure AD. What do you see as far as like any gotchas with just going to a SAML provider? I know Okta has a more robust integration with Jamf Pro than Azure AD, because Azure AD, I think you have to choose it as a custom SAML provider.
Correct, yes.
But as far as like mapping groups and whatnot, do you see a lot of clients using the LDAP connector or like a virtual LDAP in the cloud?
Yes. Most of my clients that have boldly claimed we're getting rid of AD, we're not going to bind and AD is gone, they overlook the fact that LDAP is still a great directory service, and while you don't need all of the pieces of AD, you still need a decent directory service. And if you're not willing to go to something like directory in the cloud, Jamf Cloud, and there's other ones out there, I have seen customers roll back on what they've said, and then they end up connecting Jamf Cloud using our infrastructure manager, we affectionately call Jim, to connect to their LDAP environment internally. You're welcome to use the Azure AD, and I don't know if, I can't really speak to success over any other method. I don't know, Katie, do you have? Oh, can we get Katie on?
Thank you. One thing I've seen people do is actually put, if you've got Azure infrastructure anyway, I'll see them put a read-only domain controller out in Azure somewhere, and they'll just point to that.
Oh, okay.
So that's a quick way to get your group membership kind of ported over. So that's like a quick and painless option. Not everybody has the ability to do that.
Right.
But if we recreated groups, local groups inside of Jamf Pro, right, and they had the exact same name as the Azure AD groups, that should map. I'm really only concerned about admin logins.
Yeah, that's an easy way to do it.
Okay. So we're not scoping policies.
If you're not using it for scoping, then yeah, you've got a minimal use case for it. That's a great way to do it.
All right, great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no worries. Good luck on your migration. Thanks. Nobody over there? Okay. Go for it.
So I have a question about the re-enrolling process.
Yes.
We don't have any sort of a distribution point in the DMZ to get to our clients outside. We used to have a JDS out there, but that didn't go so well. So
Sure.
we had to roll back on that. But can you connect to the Jamf content distribution server from your on-prem temporarily to deploy that?
Yeah. So I'm sorry if that wasn't super clear. The migration package that you upload into your server is going into your current on-prem server. The clients are going to check in and get that package. They're going to run it, and then they're going to move. They're going to leave.
Well, no, what my question is so we're 90% mobile, and a lot of people don't connect to our internet network all the time.
Okay.
And so for the sake of trying to...
So yeah, what's going to happen there is you would have to leverage something like network segments, or you'd have to make sure that the package doesn't try and run on clients that aren't on the internal network. If they can't see the distribution point, then they can't get that package.
I guess the quick answer is you can't connect the cloud distribution point to your on-prem temporarily.
No.
Okay.
No, not really. But there's a ton of options out there, right? I mean, you can spin up an AWS bucket temporarily. There's, 10 or 15 clicks. I know Rich Stroughton had a great write-up on how to get the Amazon Web Bucket attached to an on-prem server, even temporarily, because it's free if you do it within a month. Or unlikely, but open up ports. Just let your distribution point be public for a while until after the migration.
I do actually have one more question.
Yeah.
When you were showing where the user would have to approve when they went to self-service,
Sure.
Was that only for self-enrolled boxes? If they were DEP, would they have to still do that?
So they would because while they are DEP enrolled, they're DEP enrolled to that server, and we've pulled the rug out from underneath them and moved them to another server. So the only way to do that would actually be to trash the Apple setup done file and let the machine run back around and come in as essentially a new computer, and it would go through enrollment in the setup assistant. But that is a large enough of a nightmare that you would be like, why don't you just have them click the button?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi. So we're considering moving to cloud. I think the last piece of it is the database in terms of being able to access that.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of services that actually connect directly to the database just to grab info from it. We have a few custom views to pull information from it.
Sure.
So are we able to do that sort of thing with cloud?
No, and I've had these conversations with a lot of my customers. They're like, we need to have access to our database. We have connectors and we have dashboards and we look at stuff and reporting and reasons. And they're usually doing it because they've been burned in the past and they want to watch the health of the server, or they want to monitor things that realistically, if you move to the cloud, that's not your problem anymore. You just have faith in Jamf that everything's going to be run smoothly. And if it's an absolute deal breaker, there's a lot of integration options with API and webhooks and some event stuff. If it's truly a deal breaker in your environment that you have to have access to your database, then we'd have to talk about what is that you're doing specifically. But no, Jamf Cloud customers do not have access to their database, and that's for security reasons, so we can maintain our security compliance.
Sure. The real reason is the API is just too slow sometimes.
Sure.
And so doing a direct database query is way faster in many situations.
Yeah.
And also, if Jamf makes a change that we don't like, we can go in the database and revert their change, basically.
It's true.
One example of that would be like the blackout period policy stuff.
Yeah.
Where they said this is a good idea, and I said no, it's not. And so we just went in and changed that value.
Right.
If we wanted to, could we ask Jamf to
Yes.
change those sorts of things for us?
I know Katie can talk to whether or not that's specific to premium or standard, but I do know that our Jamf Cloud customers have had specific edits that they've asked for in the past.
Okay,
and
so no access, but we could ask for customization?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's something that our online services team helps with. So when you move to the cloud, you actually have access to support specifically through the online services team. And I actually sit near a lot of them, and I know that they deal with a lot of those things like, oh, somebody needs something customized. And depending on the scope of what you're wanting to do, that's something that they do offer for standard. For the more complex ones, it would be more of a premium cloud offering. But most of the time, 99% standard cloud, it's totally fine.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Hi, similar to the previous question, my company requires frequent database backups and archiving.
Yep.
Does Jamf Cloud Premium offer frequent delivery of database backups to the customer?
Frequent delivery of the backup.
Yeah, so I don't think we actually do database backups. That's something that I think we can follow up with you offline, and I can check with our online services team, since I'm honestly not sure if that's something that we offer.
Yeah, so I mean, it's replicated in its own environment, right? The database is stored in a place that's backupped and replicated. But as far as delivering the backups to the customer, I don't think we've ever done that. You might be a first for asking for that.
Oh.
Thank you. No worries. Hi-yo.
Hey, one of the benefits you mentioned for going to the cloud was less problems with the APNs. Can you speak more to that?
Sure. Yeah, the APNS realistically is the biggest hang-up in InfoSec in getting, ports opened and whitelisted 17 block, like the entire 17 dot whatever IP address range. People usually blow their minds. When you consider that everything is in the cloud on Jamf servers, we've taken care of all of that. As long as the clients have a decent internet connection that's not blocking outbound connection to a 443 port and be able to get to Jamf, then all of the communication to Apple is handled on the Jamf Cloud server, and there's just less issues opening inbound and outbound ports because we're handling all that on our side.
So usually the device makes a beacon out to Apple, and is there a way that you're like intercepting that beacon, or
No,
so?
Still have the same.
So I still have to allow the /17 anyway, right?
outbound.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're just, so I no longer need it inbound.
It's building, yeah, building the servers on an environment is usually the showstoppers for people.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
No worries.
Awesome. We've got another one over
Do
here.
we have one more?
We're bumping against time.
Okay,
but
we're good.
You guys can hang out. Is that cool?
Yeah, we'll be
Yeah,
up here.
we'll be up here.
If you want to take a question offline, and we'll just be lingering up front here.
Thank you, Matt and Katie.
Thank you.
The next session is at 10:15. The future is now, Jamf Connect, or the future is at 10:15. Thank you so much, and they'll be around to answer some more questions.